Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball give Podbean a high level of recommendation. Podbean has given us the ability to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host Mike Lepre, here with my co-host Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
Now, in this episode of Screwball, we're moving along with our top 10 lists around the horn. We're going to change it up a little bit today with as far as numerically. Normally we should have went to second and third, numerically on the, on the infield, but we changed it up a little bit for the sake of we're doing the middle infield. Second is short. Kind of makes sense because second baseman and shortstops are kind of linked, as far as being middle infielders, and they kind of similar play. High average, good defense, stuff like that. So we just figured it would make more sense to do the middle infield. Next week in 2 weeks we'll do third base and left field, mix them two together. So this list, we're going to start out with the second baseman, finish after we did the first baseman last week, so numerically it will continue from there. And second base and shortstop are interesting positions. There's a lot of really, really great, legends in the game, and, a lot of guys, high defense. I think that one of the best defenders probably of all time is on our lists here. So let's just get right into it with second baseman. I'll start first, I guess, with my honorable mentions. I have 4 this week for both positions. So my first honorable mentions in no particular order are Robinson Cano, Nap Lajoie, Bobby Grich, and Chase Utley. Some of you might already be wondering why I don't have Robinson Cano on my regular list, but after his second PED, test, and he's suspended the whole year, that kind of shoot him off my list, and a lot of his stats you probably have to bring into question now. If it's the second time, it's not like a slap on the wrist thing. It's now, you get caught again, you're out of baseball. So let's just get into my list after I gave my 4 honorable mentions. Starting at number 10, I have Jeff Kent. Number 9, I have Roberto Alomar. Number 8, I have Charlie Gehringer. Number 7, I have Craig Biggio. Number 6, I have Jackie Robinson. Number 5, I have Eddie Collins. Number 4, Ryan Sandberg. Number 3, Rod Carew. Number 2, Rogers Hornsby. And number 1, Joe Morgan. I'm going to be kind of quick here because me and Frank kind of have similar lists, so we'll, I'll let him give his list. We'll kind of talk a little bit about it, but just a few things. Maybe that would be controversial or things that I think are notable is that number 10, I have Jeff Kent. I think that Jeff Kent is wildly underrated. I think that he is a top 10 second baseman. If not top 10, you got to probably include him in your top 12, top 15, somewhere in that ballpark. I think that he needs some more look at his Hall of Fame case. I believe he has the most home runs for a second baseman of all time. And I think that offensively, he's one of the best second basemen in high WAR, or at least higher WAR than most people would think. Craig Biggio, number 7, might be a little low for some people, and that's not really that's not like, I don't like Craig Biggio, it's just like, when you consider the top guys I have above him, it's kind of hard to keep moving him up. Jackie Robinson might be in top 3 for some people, but for me, statistically, he kind of falls short of the other guys, and while I understand how much Jackie Robinson did for the game, I just don't know if I can put him really higher than guys like Eddie Collins, Rod Carew, Rogers Hornsby. And then my 1 and 2, I think it's a debatable 1 and 2 is Joe Morgan and Rogers Hornsby. I think Joe Morgan is kind of like the Johnny Bench of second baseman, where obviously Johnny Bench has his leaps and bounds in a lot of ways better than most catchers, but second baseman, I think Joe Morgan is like the second baseman. When you kind of think second baseman, and played in a more modern era, then Rogers Hornsby maybe gives him a little bump for me. Obviously, Rogers Hornsby has a wildly higher WAR than Joe Morgan, so if you want to go the WAR route, Rogers Hornsby should be ahead of him. But I just think that Joe Morgan encapsulates second baseman, winning, with being with the Reds, and also maybe he got a bump for me, maybe because he just recently died. Maybe there's a little bump there too. But other than that, I'm going to let Frank talk a little bit because I've been talking too long. So we'll pick up a little bit after he gives his list and his honorable mentions.
Yeah, I thought these 2 positions were hard to judge or rank, just because you don't really know what the hell's going on half the time. It's either your full defense or you hit a lot and didn't play any defense, and these are two very high defensive positions. So I guess you can kind of compare it to catcher, really.
Yeah, that's true.
But to start my list, honorable mentions, I got my first one's Jeff Kent. Mike was talking about before. I believe he has the most home runs, or second most home runs as a second baseman.
Yeah.
He's about like 6'8" second baseman. It feels like.
Mm-hmm.
He was a really good player. Bounced around throughout his career. No one cared though about Jeff Kent for some reason.
I know. It's weird.
You know, he was like a middle of the order kind of second baseman. No one really cared. Oh, we got Jeff Kent, but he's really good.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we got it. Cool. It's like he's not an 8 hitter. He's not like, he's going to play a little bit. Like, he's a really good player. Played a lot of good teams. Played the Dodgers. Played the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
He played in a lot of good teams.
Sure.
My next honorable mention is Frankie Frisch.
Mm-hmm.
Fish. However some guys say it different. But, a fantastic player. The next guy on my list here, me and Mike actually seen him in person. Didn't actually get to meet him, but we seen him pretty up close in Detroit. We went to see that anniversary team.
Mm-hmm.
Lou Whitaker.
Yep.
He's a Hall of Fame. He should be a Hall of Famer. The fact that he's not in is a crime. One of the best second basemen of all time. Obviously, you can see on our list here. The reason he's not is because some of his offensive stats, they don't really match up compared to some of these guys who have 3,000 hits and stuff like that. He's definitely one of the best second basemen of his era for sure, and he was fantastic defensively.
Mm-hmm.
My next one, then I'm going to get the name. The next two, I'll probably get the names wrong. The next one, Red Schoendeist.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Schoendeist.
Something like
for
that.
the Cardinals. I believe he died this year or 2 years ago. Recently, he played for the Cardinals a long time ago. He was in their organization. I believe he was in baseball for 80 years.
It's crazy.
Almost 80 years. I think it was 75, 78, something like that. It was within 70 to 80 years that he was in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just ridiculous. He played with the Cardinals. He was a coach. He was front office. He did everything over there. Number retired for the Cardinals. He was like one of their first superstars. The next one, his name is also very hard to pronounce. That is Frank White.
Oh, yeah. Who's that?
I don't know. He's fantastic, and that's pretty much it.
He's got a great
defensive. Name. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, it's a pretty good one. He was very good defensively. It was a big part of the Royals. Dominant teams there, rivals with the Yankees in the 70s there. Really good player. Retired number for the Royals.
Yep.
And borderline really MLB Hall of Famer. His stats don't really match up, again, because it's a more defensive position back then. But for second baseman, he was one of the better ones. Next one on my list, I have Nellie Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic player. And the last one, Willie Randolph. I believe Willie Randolph was really one of the early on offensive second baseman.
Yeah.
I don't think he really gets credit. I mean, he wasn't like a bunch of home runs or nothing like that, but he was a very good offensive second baseman. Kind of early on compared to some of these guys. He really set the tone of offensive second baseman being able to do both. So that's why I want to mention him. But to get into my top 10 quickly, number 10, I have Jackie Robinson. As Mike said, his stats, he doesn't have stats.
Yeah.
Simple as that. He doesn't really have stats. Impact on the game was obviously there, but his stats aren't there. He also played a lot of positions. If you look at his stats, second base really wasn't a standout position for him. Defensively, he was nothing really special. More of an offensive player. And it always bothers me the fact that he gets credited for the first African-American ball player in professional baseball when he wasn't. You want to go look that up. It's William Edward White.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he played in early or late 1800s.
Yeah.
He technically is the first one, so it always kind of bothered me a little bit that they never talked about him.
Mm-hmm.
You never hear that. And I mean, Jackie Robinson obviously impact was a lot more than William Edward White as impact, but you got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
It's not.
A lot of people like to misconstrue what he did versus him being like people think he's the first because of what he ended up doing, but he wasn't the first.
Yeah, so that kind of always bothered me. But Jackie Robinson was good. Just his stats don't add up, so it's hard to put him higher up on the list. Number 9, I got Nap Lashway. Go look at his stats. I don't even have to get into him. He just hit the ball everywhere, wherever he wanted. The new Cleveland name, people want him to be the Cleveland Naps because he was like a player manager. They had a team named after him actually back in the day for like a year. They were the Cleveland Naps because it was Nap Lashway. So it's ridiculous. Number 8, same as Mike's, is Charlie Greiner.
Yes.
Geiringer. I don't even.
Yeah, Gehringer.
Gehringer, yeah. I don't know. But he's another one. Just go look at his stats. Played a long time ago, but fantastic. Number 7, Ryan Sandberg. Won a huge offensive power numbers as well at second base, and he won the home run derby. I think he won a home run derby. Really feel like one home run.
Yeah, it was something
But
crazy.
he was a power, for the most part, power hitting second baseman, which you didn't really see. Played on some Cubs teams that were not very good. Played on some Cubs teams that were good. The next player, which could easily be higher, but I think it's because his defense at that position was never. It was good. I believe it was above average, but never stand out, and that's Rod Carew. I believe he was top 10 hitter of all time.
Oh yeah.
With 80 home runs, whatever he hit. The bat laying flat as can be. He just slapped base hits everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a skinnier version of Tony Gwynn.
Mm.
The same type of player, slapped the ball over shortstops everywhere. Wherever you moved. And Rod Carew said that, I believe, was he would see a guy move one step to the left, he'd hit it one step to the right. He knew wherever you moved, he could hit it that one step the opposite direction, and he would just do that.
Mm.
That's why he batted almost 400 a couple times.
Yeah.
5th on my list is Eddie Collins. I don't even know what else you want me to say about Eddie Collins. Just another really old player with ridiculous stats. The older players have just their stats are just ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
Ridiculous. They don't make sense. But
I know.
that's why you got to give them their credit, no matter what. No matter how long you talk about baseball, even 100 years from now, they're still going to be the top 10. It's because their stats are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Unless somehow baseball reverts back to that craziness, which offensively, I guess it makes more sense offensively if possibly stats reverting back compared to pitching. Those are never coming back. They're never coming. Pitching's never going to come back. Offense, I guess you could say maybe comes back at some level.
You'll probably never even touch Cy Young's losses.
No.
So like you get stats like that, it's just
No, you're not gonna. No, you're gonna be lucky if you get a guy who pitches as many losses as Cy Young had.
yeah.
Pitches as many
That's
games
true.
that he had losses. That's just how it is.
Mhm.
There are 4 on my list. I actually have him very high. I actually was gonna put him more in the middle, a couple spots lower, until I really looked at his stats. And that's Roberto Alomar.
Mhm.
A lot of stolen bases, a lot of hits. RBIs. He had some home runs.
Mhm.
Very good defensively. He was a very good player, Roberto Alomar, switch hitter, which always gives you a boost. Number 3 is Craig Biggio. Mike had him, I believe, like 7.
Yeah.
Craig Biggio is a 3,000 hit guy.
Mhm.
Should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't know why he couldn't be. He had 3,000 hits. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
Defensively, he was good. He played multiple positions. Second base was always his home. Stole bases, had power, consistent. He played like almost every day.
Yeah.
And he was a big part of the killer base and the longest member of the killer base.
Yeah.
I think he was the most important. He had Bagwell, he smoked the home runs, and Berkman did a little bit of both.
Mhm.
But Biggio did all of it. Stole bases, played great defense, average, home runs, consistent. He was there every year. We played 20 years.
Yeah, something like
He
that.
was like Mr. Astro, almost.
Oh yeah.
He was like,
Sure.
when you think about that newer, not newer now, but at the time it was that newer Astro jersey, or like the dark red,
Mhm.
gold, black with the pinstripe jersey. That was Craig Biggio.
Yeah.
If you
Yep.
think of the Astros those years, that's Craig Biggio.
Oh yeah.
Like when you see the rainbow ones, you almost think of Nolan Ryan and Mike Scott and guys like that. But when you think of the pinstripe one, it's Craig Biggio and Bagwell and Berkman.
Mhm.
But Biggio just played every day, all the time. So that's why I put Biggio up there. He was just a great hitter. Number 2, I have Joe Morgan. Like I said, you said before, we can go 1 or 2. It doesn't really matter. Joe Morgan, we lost him recently. But as second base goes, he was, the definition of a second baseman. Another one that was really early on with offense at second base.
Yeah.
Home runs, stolen bases, base hits, played a long time.
Mhm.
Defense was really good. Big part of the Big Red Machine. As you can see, these Big Red Machine players, almost every one for them teams are on these top 10 lists. We
Yeah.
talked about Tony Perez.
Yeah.
We talked about Johnny Bench. We talked about Joe Morgan.
We'll talk about another one
We're
soon.
going to talk about another crazy Billy.
Yeah.
And you might even get there's another one you can maybe mention on the outfield and left field that could be mentioned,
Yeah.
whose son outweighed him a lot. But you could even mention him at that position. Of course, pitching, they didn't really have that. But offensively, I mean, jeez. But Joe Morgan was fantastic. And off the field and after he got done playing as an announcer was almost just as important as his playing days, which is crazy to say, but that's how good he was.
Mhm.
He was able to broadcast the game to a lot of people and grow the game. How good he was.
Sure.
And number 1, I'm not even going to get into him. It's Roger Hornsby.
Mhm.
His stats are ridiculous. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like 78 million hits. Batted like 300, 398 for his life because he was the greatest.
Mhm.
his offensive stats, these guys, these Eddie Collins, these Roger Hornsby's, Matt Blageway, their stats are just ridiculous.
Yeah,
they're not fair.
If you go pure statistical, I mean Rogers Hornsby should be number one. You go pure statistical, and even if you go pure statistical, Eddie Collins could probably even be number two because those guys, I'm pretty sure they both had like a 120 WAR,
and they're going to hit in every era.
Oh yeah, because that style of hitting is just.
And I mean Roger Hornsby, he had home runs too. He was just dominant.
Yeah.
Like it was like, oh, all right, so Roger Hornsby's going to get his 3 hits today. You just got to hope the other guys didn't get there. You had to stop the other guys from getting their hits because he was going to get his 3 hits. That's how it is with Hornsby and Appalachia. That's how it was kind of with Rod Carew. So we know he's going to slap 3 base hits today. Just make sure there's no one on base when he's the guy in second because he's going to slap a base hit and get an RBI.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was. You didn't really game plan to stop him because you weren't. Yeah. If you stopped him, you're like, all right, we got lucky.
Yeah, we got lucky today.
Yeah, and there's a lot of chances he didn't hit someone else was going to hit because he hit every other day.
Yeah, so. he was unbelievable. Like you said, Nap Lajoie was unbelievable. I just didn't quite have him on my list because, especially with these positions, short and second, there's a lot of the older guys, and I just didn't think that he quite made the cut with the other. I got 3 kind of older guys here with Eddie Collins, Hornsby, and Gehringer. I didn't think he quite made the cut, but he would probably be 11 for me. So, I didn't, like I said, it's just the old guys. They always sit weird in my head, which is probably why I don't have Rogers Hornsby number 1. Because, like I said, from a pure statistical standpoint, you gotta, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and these guys, their style's never going to change. It's never going to die out. And we see that. We see that with players throughout baseballs, even past. We even mentioned some of these guys. One guy you could bring up who just announced his retirement, Howie Kendrick.
Yeah.
Very similar type of hitter.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to hit. Obviously, the average wasn't 350, 360.
No,
but it's very similar type of hitter. He's going to hit everywhere, right field more times than not. Mm-hmm. And he's just going to smack base hits. LeMahieu is a perfect example. Mm-hmm. He's a 330 hitter.
Yeah.
Slaps the ball to right field, doesn't care about home runs, just base hit.
Mm-hmm.
Rod Carew's like 70 years after Nap Lajoie. He's like the same type of hitter. Just slap base hits. Tony Gwynn. You can say if you want to, Ichiro, even though his style never matches up, but the way he got hits was just get base hits.
Yeah.
That style of hitting's never going to go. Juan Pierre, Ben Rivera, he doesn't compare to any of these guys, but that style of hitting, mm-hmm. Kenny Lofton, just the base hits and then go about your day. Mm-hmm. Never going to die out. No. That's what these guys did. Hornsby maybe a little different, maybe Eddie Collins a little different, but Nap Lajoie, Rod Carew, they're all the same, type of hitters.
Yeah.
We'll get on later on, Ty Cobb. They're all the same type of hitter, and it's never going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Base hits are going to be base hits no matter when you play. Home runs will come and go.
Mm-hmm.
But, base hit hitter can play until he's 45 years old. As long as his eyes don't go bad.
Yeah, that's why I'm a little surprised, because I know you love Rod Carew. I'm surprised you didn't have him quite as high as... I mean, I think you have him 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like you disrespect
I think my top 3 are pretty locked in. I think Roberto Alomar surprised me a little bit. I was kind of thinking Rod Carew maybe 4 or 5, but Roberto Alomar's stats are just ridiculous. Yeah. And Rod Carew, again, I don't think his defense was as dominant at a defensive like hands down defensive position. So I think that's why I dropped him a spot. And Eddie Collins, you kind of got to have him in the top 5.
Yeah, that's
so I kind of locked him in at 5. So it was either Rod Carew at 4 or Rod Carew at 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't really think it's hard to put him in top 3. Top 2 he can't get into. Mm-hmm. I don't think he can. Top 3, I guess I could have pushed Biggio, but I mean Biggio had over 3,000 hits.
Yeah, it was just based on WAR and average and a bunch of other factors. I just thought Rod Carew was when you first think about Rod Carew, he doesn't quite hit that level. Like
some
6
people
is
are gonna be like,
I wouldn't be.
They're gonna be like, oh, okay, oh yeah, he was really good.
I wouldn't be surprised if people didn't even have him on their list because they just didn't look deep enough into his stats or know enough about him.
Yeah, I mean, what's he got the batting title awards named after him? The AL batting title.
I'm pretty
award?
sure. Yeah.
The NL's Tony Gwynn.
Yeah, which makes sense when you think about it.
I mean,
yeah.
It's not hard. It doesn't. Let's who are we gonna give this to? Let's give it to the guys who batted 400 all the time.
Yeah. Well, other than that, I mean, with the save Jeff Kent and Nap Lajoie, we got the same we got the same 9 guys.
And Frank White.
Oh yeah, I can't believe I didn't even put him on there because he is a Royal Hall of Famer.
Sure.
So
Tony Womack on here.
Oh my god! I seen a stat with Tony Womack the other day. I was watching Home Beat Network, and it was Tony Womack in the double down the line against Mariano Rivera in the World Series in 2001. Him coming up to the plate against Mo, he had the highest % chance of a hit of all time. It was Tony Womack against Mariano Rivera in that it was like the statistic was so off the wall. It was like super sabermetric, but I was like, what? I was like, Tony Womack against Mariano Rivera. He had like a 48% chance of getting a hit in that at bat or something like that. I'm like, what?
And a guy who I would have put on my second base, maybe not my top 10, but my honorable mentions, I just didn't really know where to put him, would have been Alfonso Seriano.
Yeah.
I don't know what position really to put him. He came up as a shortstop technically. Didn't play shortstop with the Yankees, played second base. Then he went to left field with the Nationals, played actually Rangers second base and left field, Nationals left field, Cubs left field, Yankees mostly left field DH.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he might have played more games at second base. I didn't really look it up. But I just didn't want to get really into that because I didn't really, break him down. But his stats, if you consider him a second baseman, is definitely honorable mention territory. Top 15 second baseman.
Probably, yeah.
400 home runs, 5 stolen bases, shy of 300. Would have been like 15 players ever done that.
Mm-hmm.
Over 2,000 hits. 1,000 hits in both leagues. I think he's one of 2-3 guys to ever do that.
Yeah, that was a pretty big stat when he did it.
What's he, 270 lifetime hitter, 277 lifetime hitter.
Yeah, something like that.
On base, he never walked. I don't think he struck a terrible amount. He just never walked. And always swung the heaviest bat.
Yeah, he did.
And never changed. He looked the same exactly the day he came up. The day he ended. Almost 50-50 one year. 50 home runs, 50 stolen
with
bases.
the Yankees, right?
Yeah, I think he went what, 40-40? Did he go like 48 home runs and 49 stolen bases or something like that?
What'd you say? He batted 270 for his career?
It's 277, 276, something like that.
He batted 270 on the dot.
Yeah. Okay. So that was a couple points higher.
Yeah.
Well, he had 293 stolen bases, 294.
He had 289.
Okay, so that was a couple off there.
Yeah.
411 home runs or something like that, right?
412. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
And about 2,100 hits.
2,095. You're out of your mind right now.
Yeah.
He played. I'll get you this stat with his. He didn't bat very well in the playoffs, but that's okay.
His first at bat in the playoffs with the Yankees was a home run down the line.
And
to win the game.
And he would have won the 2001 World Series had it not been for the comeback on Luis Gonzalez and all that. Because people forget about that. He hit that home run to put him 2-1.
I'll never forget that home run down the line.
He played probably about 2 seasons worth more games at left field than second. So
technically he's left fielder.
Yeah.
So maybe I just spoiled something. He'll be on my honorable mention next week.
Yeah, he played 1,092 games in the outfield, 1,056 in left.
And he, I don't want to continue with this because it really has no effect on his episode.
No.
Much, but even though he did play second base.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets mentioned enough about baseball. I think he could have stayed on the Hall of Fame ballot for sure, longer. And he turned himself into a good outfielder. He was a Gold Glove finalist the last couple of years he played outfield.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for an error, I believe, right at the end of the one season, was the last full season with the Cubs. He would have won Gold Glove in left field.
Mm-hmm.
That's an amazing turnaround.
Yeah.
There was no Daniel Murphy in left field.
No.
Like 7 errors on one play. Not quite that bad. But he was not very good.
No.
And then, of course, the Cubs, big outfield, wind, crazy. Cubs fans hate everything when they're not winning. It was hard. But he got dealt, I think, a tough hand when he went to the Rangers. They didn't feel like they wanted him.
Yeah. Especially
he didn't want to be there. It was an A-Rod deal. It was something weird there. Then he went to the Nationals, terrible team. Him and Adam Dunn with that Nationals team. Oh,
it's just your favorite.
Adam Dunn batted 263 that year. Are you kidding me? His highest ever, 40 home runs for us. Sariano's fucking 48, 49. Like, what?
Yeah.
He was he didn't get sick that last year. He would have had 300 stolen bases. That would have been huge for his career.
Mm.
But I don't want to get Alfonso Sariano any more than I just did.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to consider him a second baseman, I think he's got to be an honorable mention. Left field a little bit deeper, so that might be harder. But if he was considered a second baseman, he has to be your top, I think, 15, maybe not 15, top 20 second baseman.
Yeah.
Because of his offensive stats.
It also depends what kind of person you are with WAR, because he did have a very, very low WAR for his career. It was only like 28. So if you're like that kind of person, you probably don't put him, that high. But if you're someone that 400 home runs from a position that's not offensively, historically not you don't need your second baseman to be your best hitter by any means. So you got 400 home runs, about 300 stolen bases, 2,000 hits, pretty good. Yeah, pretty good career average, good RBIs, stuff like that. Then
Yeah, his big thing was defensively in the infield. Definitely was not. He would probably average, if not above average in the infield. I'd say outfield that really hurt him. So I think that's what hurt his WAR, and he never walked. Maybe his on base for his career might be 300. It might be 30 points higher than his average. He never walked.
Yeah, he was a contact guy.
He would just swing, and he would hit the ball.
Well, maybe we'll see we'll get into an even bigger conversation on the move.
Maybe we get to come back to the Yankees. Oh,
yeah, that was the greatest. As a Yankee fan, that was the best.
love Alfonso Seriano. And that Terry went on. Oh,
I
when
know.
he got hot, he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
There was no stopping. He was the youngest of men.
Yeah,
He was like Abreu when you got him hot, Bobby Abreu.
Yeah,
When he was hot, he was like, oh. But he was cold. He was like, who is this guy?
He is a very underrated player, Bobby Abreu.
Yeah, we'll get to him later.
Yeah, but that's our second base lists. Maybe there's something too with just to kind of bring Alfonso Soriano back around to second bases. Maybe there's actually all the lists is that there's kind of like maybe with unless you're like a Derek Jeter or a Mariano Rivera or David Ortiz, like these guys that
Capricorn.
Yeah, if unless you're like one of these guys that are like first ballot Hall of Famers or like kind of bona fide legends of the game, the modern players, some of them kind of like I have Chase Utley in my honorable mentions. I don't think Chase Utley makes top 10 really in any conversation you have, unless you're like a Phillies fan. But
unless you just take prime years.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure.
Take someone's best 5 years at second base. I'm sure you could put him on there.
Yeah, you can make an argument for sure.
I mean, you even have 2,000 hits.
Yeah, but like the modern players, I think will probably look. Like we look fondly on some players because they played like 30, 40 years ago. But like now we have modern players where there's some guys on the ballot coming up or, maybe it's just a soft years coming up. But I'm like, but like if time goes on, you think about these guys, maybe time will make them add a little luster. So like maybe guys like Alfonso Soriano and guys at other positions that we'll talk about. I have someone in my honorable mentions for shortstop. Maybe time will look more fondly on them.
Yeah, they just don't. I think the thing is, you watch them. Maybe you didn't watch them a bunch. You only watched them a little bit. Some people say they don't look like Hall of Famers. Some of their stats don't add up because maybe they didn't. The baseball, games changed a little bit. But as a kid, you kind of knew. For us, at least as a kid, in the early 2000s, you knew who your legends were, and they were just that much better than everybody. Like, you knew Bonds, like, in Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens. They were just so much better than everybody else.
Pujols.
Yeah. I don't think, other than Pujols now, because he was kind of melt over, we didn't have that. Like, Trout is probably, or now. It's like, he's just so much better, it feels like.
Yeah, he's.
And even his stats are comparable to other players at times.
Mm-hmm. But he's still like, he's like the guy that could play in a league above the MLB. Like, if there was a league above the MLB.
Yeah, that's the thing. And 20, 30 years ago, you kind of had a bunch of players where it's like these guys are all a lot better than everybody else.
Yeah. Yep.
All the time. So I think that's kind of why some players are like, eh.
Yeah.
It's like you don't feel like they're legends.
Yeah.
Like these guys, some of these guys that we talked about, for us, early 2000s and stuff, they're legends. They're flat out legends of the game.
Yeah.
Like their stats are hard to match.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a funny thing, but I think there are soft years coming that are just a product of not having, your Mariano Rivera's, and when Pujols goes in, obviously that'll be a big year, but like I said, we'll see. Maybe like 10 years from now, we think back and be like, oh well, that guy was pretty good, or Chase Utley, he was better than people thought, or I don't know. We'll see. You never know with time how people think about stuff, but let's finally move on to shortstop. Shortstop's kind of, like we've kind of said a few times here, is kind of similar to second base in the fact that it's a pretty defensive taxing position. Typically, you don't have crazy, like, offensive guys. There are the standouts that we'll obviously get into. But, the honorable mentions for me, I could see one or two of these guys being on someone's list. But other than that, not really crazy guys. But no particular order. My 4 honorable mentions are Pee Wee Reese, Omar Vizquel, Jimmy Rollins, and Phil Rizzuto. I could see someone making a case for Pee Wee Reese. I've seen some lists with Pee Wee Reese. For me personally, he's just, statistically, just doesn't quite match up to these other 10 guys. Omar Vizquel, defensively, oh my God, he's like Ozzie Smith Jr. if you want to, make some sort of comparison. Jimmy Rollins, I guess I could see some, being, I believe he was a switch hitter, right?
Yeah. MVP.
Yeah, so I could see, maybe if you do the prime years thing, I can see something. Phil Rizzuto I threw on there because he's iconic. It's more of like just shoo the stats away. It's like, he kind of always, Phil Rizzuto always kind of lives in people's legend.
Yeah, because of an analyst.
And yeah.
He gets mentioned. Let's be honest. He got put in the Hall of Fame as a player because he bunted. I just want people to know that. That was all he was good at.
Yeah, it is weird these well, Ray Schawk's Hall of Famer, so whatever.
Yeah, both of them really shouldn't be. I don't know who to argue more shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, and nothing against Phil Rizzuto. I mean, he was a fine player.
Yeah.
But where's the stat? He bunted. You're
Yeah,
dead.
yeah.
Well, congratulations. Put the Hall of Fame because he bunted.
I don't even know defensively how he was. I'm sure he was good, but
He just happened to be on the Yankees and they won, 10 times?
oh yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I got 7 of them. I bunted like 8 times.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. Holy cow, that's why I'm in.
We just offended everybody probably because I know people love Phil Rizzuto.
Yeah, they loved him, but would you ever want him to play?
Yeah.
Would you ever be like, that's my shortstop. I need Phil Rizzuto to go to the big dance.
Especially after hearing our top tens, it's like no,
you wouldn't. But analyst wise, fantastic. Holy cow, there he goes.
Yeah.
Talking, he doesn't know. It was like Harry Carey, just without the actual craziness.
Yeah, great character of the game, but yeah, statistically, it's like not great. But gets to my top 10. Number 10, I have Arky Vaughan, who I didn't coming into it think he was really going to touch my top 10, but he's got good stats. Good WAR, Arky.
Yeah.
Number 9 might be controversial for some people. I'm pretty low probably for some people, but Ozzie Smith. Ozzie Smith offensively is just not good, I think.
Yes.
Defensively, one of the best. I'm not going to argue that at all. I think defensively, it's like defensively it gets carried so high. Offensively, it just drags him down my list so far. Because I do personally value hitting over defense. Like if you're just an average, even held a little below average defender, but you're like a really good hitter, that's fine. You're on my team. But if you're the opposite way, you're an Ozzie Smith level defender, but you're a average to below average hitter, I'm sorry. You're going to be 9th on my list. Number 8, I have Alan Trammell, or Alan Trammell. I've heard people pronounce it. Great player. Another guy I didn't really think was going to be on my top 10, but after looking at kind of the other guys, it makes sense. Number 7, Barry Larkin. Great offensive shortstop. I believe first 30-30 shortstop, if I'm not mistaken. Great red. Kind of a guy that kind of first comes to your mind. You think of shortstops, or at least a lot of big baseball fans would think of him. Number 6, Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter is one of the legends of the game at this point, I would think. And if it wasn't for his pretty abhorrent defensive stats, I think he would be an easy top 3, top 4, because he's like 6th all-time hits and winningness and as far as iconic look and influence on the game. I mean, he just checks all those boxes, but defensively, golly. If he just wasn't so prideful and change positions, he would probably make it higher on this list. But Derek Jeter's obviously, and as a Yankee fan, he's just tops, I think. Number 5, Luke Appling. Another one of those guys that you kind of look back at some of those stats and it's just off the charts. But yeah, you go like kind of similar to like an Eddie Collins. You kind of go look back at his stats, like, yep, he was good. Right above him at number 4 is Robin Yount. Robin Yount, I obviously know is very good, but when I actually went to research for this list, Robin Yount surprised me with how good his stats were all across the board. Hits, WAR, RBIs. Even for home runs for shortstop was pretty damn good. He played multiple positions. I mean, it's just a great player. What more can you say? And obviously one of the few, unfortunately for the franchise, but one of the few Brewer legends. Just great. He's kind of like
in all their divisions.
Yeah. But he's like he's a Mr. Brewer. There he is. I would think.
Isn't the mascot look kind of like Robin Yount?
I think that's It's kind of like the blonde hair and stuff.
And isn't he? What's he? Mr. Brewer.
Bernie Brewer, I think is the.
Brewer, okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Brewer. So.
Yeah, you might as well just make it Robin Yount.
Yeah.
Number 3, it's got to be. He's the most home runs as shortstop, Ernie Banks. I believe he's got over 500. So I can't imagine there's another shortstop that wouldn't be on my list that has more than him. Ernie Banks, just an absolute legend of the game. I love that man. He is Mr. Cub, right? That's actually his nickname. So that's not even controversial. Yeah, I mean, fantastic player, great high WAR, high home runs, hits, RBIs, the whole shebang. He's got it. It's even hard to put him at number 3. These next 2 guys are just so damn good. Number 2, got Honus Wagner. He's one of the guys like Ty Cobb, where even though he's an older guy, he's just, if you know baseball, even at a kind of entry level, he's one of the guys that you kind of learn about. Honus Wagner, famous baseball card.
Really doesn't make sense.
Yeah, he's like Rogers Hornsby. It's funny that we have kind of the same for the list, the two guys, but just off the charts stats. Like they're not even. I don't even know if you can make repeatable stats in the game anymore like this guy or these guys. Him and Hornsby. Like I said, though, purely statistical, he's probably number one. He's got to be. I would think on just about everyone's list if you're going from a statistical standpoint, analytical or otherwise, he should be there. But number one, I have Cal Ripken Jr. Kind of similar to Joe Morgan. He's like, to me, he's like the shortstop. Statistically, obviously, he has the record for most games in a row. That'll never, I don't care what anyone says, it'll never be broken. 3,000 hits. I believe he's got to be high on the home run list. I'm pretty sure he has quite a few. I think he's got over 300 home runs, right? If I'm not mistaken. RBIs, like I said, high WAR, not quite Honus Wagner's WAR, but just that iconic shortstop stuff. And it's kind of similar to my second base argument with Joe Morgan, where it's like, the newer era. He played in, Cal Ripken played for a long time, so he kind of played in a few eras. Played into the early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. Played for a long time. Like I said, every damn game. So for those reasons, obviously, I usually side statistical with stuff, but Cal Ripken Jr. is just, for me, just like he's number one shortstop. And, I don't think that I really don't think you're 1, 2, and 3 with Cal Ripken, Honus Wagner, Ernie Banks, to whatever order you got him in. You could put Ernie Banks at number one. I could see it. I don't think those guys are too movable, away from even 4. I just don't.
I think they're locked in stone for the most part.
Yeah. So that's my top 10 list. I'll let Frank take it over with his list and his honorable mentions.
Yeah. That list is it's pretty good. To get into my list, I'll start with my honorable mentions. Like Mike, my first honorable mention is Pee Wee Reese. Next one is Joe Cronin. Third one, Omar Vizquel. Just want to go quickly into Omar Vizquel. His offensive stats. He's not far from 3,000 hits.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he played a long time to get there. He's one of the few guys you could say that the length of his career helped his offensive stats because he never was a dominant offensive player. But the stats still are there. Some of his recent off-the-field issues that they come up is a reason why you could probably leave him off maybe your top 10. But defensively, offensively, he was really good. I think he gets... Some people like to credit, think that he gets a little too much credit for being a little too good. Because you can compare him to some guys, and a guy I see him get compared to a lot by people is Placido Polanco, who gets no credit for anything, but even though he's really good in his career.
I can see that.
I see those guys getting compared for some reason, but Omar Vizquel I really liked. His off-the-field issues have hurt him these last couple of weeks and days and stuff like that, so we'll see what happens there. Next guy I got Arky Vaughn, Lou Boudreau,
Yeah.
Bill Dallin, and Luis Albraccio. Those are my guys. I think he played like 27 years or something like that. Something crazy. He played a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Which is, that's just nuts.
Yeah. So my top 10, I'll start with number 10, Alan Trammell. We already went into him. He played with the Tigers for a long time.
Yeah.
He was with Lou Whitaker. Wasn't he their running mates?
Yeah, I think so. I think he also, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe I'm thinking of Ron Santo, kind of players in the same plane, but I think he got into the Hall of Fame after he died, or like I said, I might be thinking of Ron Santo, but I think there was something with his Hall of Fame thing.
Didn't he just go in recently with the Veterans Committee?
That's what
with Morris.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think I'm just I'm mixing up players, but I think there was something with his Hall of Fame thing.
I think he went with the Veterans Committee with Jack Morris.
Yeah, there was like a big conversation around why he wasn't like his first run, why he wasn't a Hall of Famer. Yeah, there was something with that. I think that's where my head's kind of going.
His stats are fantastic. And I'm pretty sure he did go with the Veterans Committee with Jack Morris. And the craziest thing I thought with that was I believe Alan Trammell, I believe, was Jack Morris's only teammate he ever played with that was in the Hall of Fame, and they went in the Hall of Fame the same year. And Jack Morris played on a lot of teams and won a lot of times. That was pretty crazy. But I'm pretty sure he was running mates with Lou Whitaker in the middle infield there.
Yeah, he was.
Even if it wasn't for a whole career, it was for half it, a good amount of it. And that's a hell of a middle infield.
Oh my God, yeah.
And they both get discredited. Alan Trammell finally got his credit, but Lou Whitaker's still getting discredited.
Yeah, I was thinking of, because he's still alive, so I was thinking of Ron Santo. There was something with him where he didn't get quite the credit he needed, of course, until he died. Yeah. But Alan Trammell is still alive.
Yeah, we see that problem that you're mentioning with they pass away. We're seeing that problem a lot right now in football. Just to throw that out there. Be a Raiders fan with Ken Stabler to literally put him in months after he died is a goddamn shame. So we see that a lot with football right now. But yeah, it's a shame when they do that to somebody. But number 9 on my list is Luke Applin. You said it before. He just does what he does. It's another one of those guys where it's like, oh, okay. His stats are just fantastic. Number 8, I got Barry Larkin. Barry Larkin, I feel like he could be up higher on the list, but he's just stats don't stand out too much because I don't feel like he played all that long.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, he was really good offensively, but it's like, yeah, you know what? But he didn't have a bunch of home runs, a bunch of hits.
Mm-hmm.
He was part of the Big Red Machine, the second part.
Yeah,
he was good, but like his stats just aren't that crazy for being as good as he was. It was like he got hurt, or he just ended his career early or something. It just doesn't make too much sense. I feel like.
Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't quite have like the stat. He doesn't have 2,500 hits.
Even though he could have. I feel like offensively, he easily could have.
Yeah.
So that's weird. He's a weird.
Yeah, it's a weird. He's a weird case. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 7 is Ozzie Smith. His defense puts him in the Hall of Fame. His ability to play kind of changed the way the Cardinals played baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was like the turf and hit on the ground and just use your speed and beat it out and choppers and stuff like that. That's what the Cardinals did during those years. They had a bunch of guys who were similar to Ozzie Smith, just kind of hit it and run turf, and they knew their turf and they knew their home field advantage and they loved it. His defense was fantastic, and his backflip is what puts him in the Hall of Fame because his bat sure held in. And if his bat did, it's that one home run.
Yeah. Go crazy, folks.
Yeah, Ozzie Smith played a long time. Fantastic. Probably one of the best defenders at any position of all time.
Sure.
Jumping over the guy at second base, sliding in, and he throws the ball to first base. I mean, he's fantastic defensively, but offensively, there's just nothing there. And not that I don't like Ozzie Smith, and I love defense. It just bothers you that someone like Ozzie Smith gets put in the Hall of Fame, but then you have a 493 home run Fred McGriff sitting there.
I don't quite understand it.
It bothers you. Or
Yeah.
even a guy like Pete Rose with all his stuff, his issues, doesn't get in, but you get a guy who had 250 hitter, 5 home runs,
Yeah.
and he's in the Hall of Fame, But then you won't use that for other people, like right now, Andrew Jones. He's the outfield version of Ozzie Smith with better stats, offensive stats.
Oh, sure.
Is he going to get in? We don't know. He might, but I don't know.
I don't
Scott
think he
Rowland.
will. Yeah. Oh my God.
Are these guys going to get in? Are they going to get the Ozzie Smith? Probably not. So why did Ozzie Smith get it?
Yeah, because he did a backflip.
Yeah, so that's what gets me. And I love defense, but it's too much like bullshit to get in the Hall of Fame. It's like, who do you know almost, or who do you likes you, And then you get guys like Albert Bell.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna put him in because no one liked him, but he was a hell of a lot better player statistically than Ozzie Smith was.
Oh.
And if he wasn't, then you go tell him.
Yeah, you tell him that.
Ask Fernando Vina how he is. He's not nice. So it just always kind of bothered me, and I like Ozzie Smith. He was great. He's still great. Off the field and stuff with the Cardinals, and it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't like the double standard of he was the best. He just fielded. Oh, Scott Rowland.
Yeah.
It's like wow, he has all them Gold Gloves.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Jones has 10 of them.
Something like that. Yeah.
Jim Edmonds. Where do you put him? His offensive stats could almost put him in.
Mm-hmm.
Then you add the fact that he was one of the best defensive outfielders. Gold Glove wise and stuff like that. Where do you put him? So Ozzie Smith and I love Ozzie Smith. Don't get me wrong. He's not like someone to. I don't want to put him in with my Pudge, where I just didn't like Pudge. I like Ozzie Smith. I don't like the double standard that he gets involved with. And then almost same with the real older guys. We can Ray Shark, but Phil Rizzuto we just mentioned.
Yeah.
That was such a long time ago. It's really hard. But Ozzie Smith was still kind of in that.
Yeah, you had
in
offensive.
a more modern era where it's like, why was he still getting put with that double standard? And if you're going to put him in, great. But let's go continue with that a little bit.
Mm.
We don't want to they don't want to put too many people in the Hall of Fame, and that's just crazy. You give me a team of guys who aren't in the Hall of Fame, I'll beat a team of the guys in.
Yeah.
Like Ray Schalk's going to be your starting catcher, and Ozzie Smith's going to be your shortstop. I'm going to have Fred McGriff.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, we're good.
Pete Rose and Fred McGriff, I'm going to be all right.
Yeah.
Jack Morris for the longest of times. I'm going to win that game. He wins every game.
Hey, I agree. I got him at 9.
Yeah, I got him at 7. So, and I love defense, so I just want to keep throwing that out there. But it's just double standards bothersome. Number 6, we both had Jeter. It's funny that I just talked about how much I like defense because if you go look at the sabermetrics, he's actually technically the worst defensive shortstop sabermetrically that ever played baseball with a certain amount of innings.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there was a lefty that played for him 1 inning or something. And he was terrible, but sabermetrically, what amount of innings he was the worst. If you hit the ball to him, fine. If you hit the ball in the hole, who's gonna make that jump throw? But so a lot of those shortstop are gonna get in front of that ball and throw him out at first base with more time. Omar Vizquel, Ozzie Smith, they're gonna be able to get there because he didn't have the range. So his jump throws were plays other people make more routine. And they kind of said that same thing with Jim Edmonds, where he would play a little shallow when he wasn't the greatest speed guy. So some of his plays he made kind of, he made it some other guys would have tracked it down. But this doesn't discredit the fact that they were dominant and those plays are iconic. I think Jim Edmonds is not quite Derek Jeter with the sabermetrics. Jim Edmonds actually was a really good defender, but similar kind of concept where it's like the plays that someone else would make more routinely, they have to make more crazy because of speed and range and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, and if people are confused what we're talking about, it's not the errors, because I don't think Jeter, comparatively to others, I don't think is really has a horrible error counter or fielding percentage. It's his range and his, I believe, defensive run saved is a stat. It's like negative 200 something.
Yeah, because a ball in the 5-hole that he had a jump throw for is a guy someone else to get in front of. Yeah. That means a ball that was hitting another foot, a step or two in front of Jeter, he couldn't get. The other guy was going to make that jump throw and get.
And it wasn't like Jeter was slow either. It wasn't like he was just a big lumbering guy, but his
defense was not good. It was when you hit it to him, he made the plays you're supposed to make, which was a great thing for your career and a great thing for a player. Like he didn't mess up easy plays. Make the easy plays and you're going to go a long ways.
Yeah.
Do the easy things, you're going to go a long way, and that's what he did. Offensively, one of the better shortstops offensively of all time. One of the better hitters offensively of all time. Winning. With Jeter, I always thought there's something weird with him. I feel like he just doesn't he's just not human off the field.
Yeah, he is.
He's socially not right with him. Almost.
Yeah,
He's not human.
Yeah, he was like the guy that, like Derek Jeter, like all the girls wanted him. He's got the spotlight. He's cool, but off the field, he didn't even know it.
He doesn't understand. Talk to anybody.
Yeah, he doesn't understand it. He just doesn't want it.
He doesn't have to be A-Rod, but he should be something.
Yeah, he was always a little kind of standoffish,
Never kind of went back to the Yankees. Didn't really want his number retired. Almost, I was at the Mother's Day with his number retired. He almost didn't want to be there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Almost what is?
I know what you mean. It's a little odd.
Yeah, and then you think about how he never got in trouble, and you say a lot of people never got in trouble. He just. Not that you want someone to get in trouble, but you never heard anything. It's he's weird.
Mm-hmm.
He's weird. You think about it, you're is this guy socially awkward? You really think? I don't know.
And it's weird too because you see him in interviews. He's always Joe Cool, so you know that there's personality there. It's just he's so quiet.
He's not quite, but you kind of compare him. I feel to Belichick. Belichick's got to be a funny dude.
Oh yeah, off the field
he's got holes in his sweatshirt. There's something going on there.
Yeah, you talk to him at the bar, he's probably cool, but
yeah, on practice field, he's making fun of people or something. It is what it is. But it's why? Why do you do this? There's something.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I always thought with Jeter, but off the field he was just weird. It's what?
Yeah.
It's what is? Why? Why are you like that?
Yeah.
But offensively fantastic, defensively terrible. That's just how it is. That's how it is. Defensively, he was terrible. And I was a guy, and as a Yankee fan, I did not like Jeter. I think he did get a lot of credit and maybe some over credit, not overrated, but too much credit because of how bad his defense was. He won Gold Gloves. Gold Gloves are sometimes a shit show. Rafael Palmeiro, I think, won a Gold Glove. He played 27 games at first base one year. It's a shit show. He wasn't a good defender. And I'm not a big sabermetrics guy, but he was not good there.
Yeah.
People just want to go, he was the best shortstop of all time, the best player to ever play. No, he's not. Just stop that right there. All right, that's just where he stops.
Well, what I always thought was he passes the eye test. You watch Derek Jeter, you're he's good, he's fine. Defensively, he's fine. When you watch him, but when you think about it, and like I said, you look at the defensive run save stat, he lags. So, now, and again, comes with an asterisk because shortstops is just such a defensive taxing position that if you compare him with his defensive run saved and his range and all the sabermetric stuff, if you put him in another position, he is fine.
He's average.
They said if you literally took him and just slid him over to third, statistically, he would be average, even maybe a little above average, depending on the position you throw him at. But because he's
a run saved by 150 runs.
They said, he would, in some positions, he would, if you put him in left field, he'd be above average. Yeah. So, And I think it comes with a little bit of pride that he didn't want to move, and it comes with maybe there might be some ownership stuff where it's like he's our shortstop.
He's the captain.
Yeah, so you didn't want to slide him for A-Rod, when A-Rod came over.
Almost like Babe Ruth.
Yeah, you don't
get rid of Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
Even though he's punching people when he's 50 years old. It's like you kind of had to keep him,
Yeah.
even though they did eventually. But, it's that concept.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what do you, like, oh, you can't let Jeter leave.
Mm-hmm.
When you remember he was getting close to free agency, it's like, we can't let him leave.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like Tony Gwynn. Padres couldn't be like, well, we can't let him leave.
Yeah.
But that's how it is. But, I don't want to discredit Derek Jeter. He was fantastic. He was a winner.
Yeah, you can't
He knew how to win.
Yeah.
He knew how to keep a team together, and he knew how to be the man. But, that's another almost double standard kind of player where it's like, well, we don't look at all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We don't look at the good stuff we want to look at because everyone liked him. Well, it's like break them open and treat everybody the same way or as close to the same way as you can. You can't be like, well, we liked him, we don't like him. It's like, well, his stats are just as good as his stats. Well, we don't like him, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's keep him out. Let's just shun him for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Let's keep Fred McGriff out. Jesus Christ. So, let's move on now. But Jeter was 6. Number 5 on my list, Robin Yount, Larry Bird Jr. They looked exactly the same. It's fantastic. Love Robin Yount. Played everywhere. Was a consistent player. Played hard. High Sox, pinstripe. The Brewers. Great player. Like I said, he played center field. He played left field. And he was above average at all positions.
Mm.
Great player, and he does look like Larry Bird.
I love that. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, he does look like Larry Bird, but great player. I liked Robin Yount. And yeah, you look up his stats. You probably, when you first think of him, you're like 9, 8, 7, somewhere in there. Then you pull stats, and you're like, okay, so like 4 or 5.
Yeah, yep.
You give him a couple stats a couple spots by just looking at his stats. Kind of like I did with Roberto Alomar. You're like 6, 7, and then you'll pull up a stat. You're like, it's a 4. Yeah, that's kind of
weird.
how Robin Yount is. And number 4, Arias. Here's one. Mike don't have him on his list for some reason.
No, I didn't even have a honorable mention.
No, he's silly. And I'm gonna be honest. This guy I really had no clue about too much until I started doing this. My number 4, greatest shortstop of all time, George Davis. Go look him up.
I wonder how many people right now are like, what?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah. Are you messing with me? Like Mark Davis? Like no, it's not Mark Davis. No, it's George Davis. Okay, played in the 1200s. No, he played like late 1800s and like the 1900s. Yes,
Yeah.
It's crazy. I know, but I was looking up his stats. I think I don't remember exactly now, but I think we're looking at like 2,700 hits.
Yeah, it was something. Yeah, it was something in that ballpark.
But this is what stood out to me. One, and he was fantastic defensively. I think me and you were looking at it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Or one day we were looking at it. Defensively, he was really good.
Yeah,
he was a switch hitter. Back then, you were so worried about let's just hit this one way. He was like, I can slap a base hit this way and this way. I think he's like 19th all time stolen bases.
Yeah, he's got 619.
Yeah, what's his hits?
2665.
Switch hitter.
Yeah.
300 hitter. What was he? 295. What was his average?
295.
I mean, fantastic. He's switch hitter in like the 1800s.
He had an 85 WAR too.
And he was very good defensively, but like 1,200 RBIs with no home runs.
1,400 RBIs with 73 home runs.
And is he like 15th on the triples list or something, like 115 of them?
He's got, how many triples does he have? Let's see. He's got 163 triples. What'd you say?
115.
Jesus Christ.
He's fantastic. He's a fantastic player that no one ever cared about. And even myself, I didn't really know anything about him.
No, neither did I really.
But if those were just like, he's just a righty or just a lefty, I'd still say those are great stats. But being a switch hitter, that's just downright crazy. And like I said, 1800s. Like, no one knew. They're just worried about trying to hit righty. They're just trying to live till like 53 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And he's out here switch hitting.
And he's got a save.
And he does. He got to save. He pitched. He knew what he was doing. He won a championship.
Yeah.
But, like, these guys are like, let's live to 50 in my life. And he's like, I'm switch hitting.
Yeah.
It's like he was just so ahead of his time.
Yeah, that is advanced.
Yeah. George Davis, everybody. I love him. We need to continue to push him forward. And he didn't get into the Hall of Fame until like 1970?
Yeah, and he died in 1940.
And he was in the Hall of Fame in like 1970 or something, right? Like some Veterans Committee?
I
I think it was probably the Golden Era Committee.
Yeah, I'll have to find out when he went in the Hall of Fame, but yeah.
I think I think it was like late.
Probably.
You look at his stats, 80 something WAR.
Yeah,
Switch hitter,
84.4.
2,700 hits, 2,600 hits as a switch hitter. Like, are you kidding me? won a championship. He got a save for crying out loud. Defensively, he was fantastic. Love George Davis.
He was inducted in 1998.
That's just ridiculous. That's just crazy. About like the Golden Era Committee or something, right? Or the Originators of Baseball Committee or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I don't think it says the committee.
Or Veterans Committee. It could even be as simple as that. But they have a bunch of committees that they come in every year. They have a blueprint. But I'm just surprised how he slid under the radar.
The official write-up, the baseballhall.org, Baseball Hall of Fame, when he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1998, George Davis was likely the best ball player you've never heard of. If that don't sum it up, I don't know what.
God damn, I love George Davis. Next time I go to the Hall of Fame, I'm going to take all the pictures. Like, this is Babe Ruth.
There he is.
This is his brother.
Yeah.
What was he, like 5'10"?
Little
guy.
Let's see. He was, I got to go back to his stats here. What the hell? Okay. He was 5'9". There you go.
He's fantastic. He's a fantastic player. But you're looking at him, and he took till 1998, but then he got Ray Shaw. Throw him in there.
Yeah, he's in there.
Throw him in the Hall of Fame. And you got this guy. He probably had more hits one way than some of these other guys got hits. He had more home runs than Smith. They didn't even have fences.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, he lived to 40 like that guy's old.
Yeah,
he's slapping 90 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
Ozzie Smith's playing where it's like, okay, we high five now. We're on the moon, and he's in the Hall of Fame. He has the same amount of home runs. Are you kidding me? Oh, that's crazy.
I know.
George Davis is fantastic. I love it. I looked at his stats and I was like, this is mind-boggling. I love George Davis. Fantastic. I got him 4, and that's because our top 3 guys we set before, they're set in stone. So to get to him, number 3, Earn Baby Earn. Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub, let's play 2, let's finish 1.
Mm-hmm.
Ernie Banks is fantastic. 511 home runs, whatever he has.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone ever liked the Cubs, if he wasn't there when they were bad and, whatnot. Because he was there forever.
Yeah, he
bad,
was.
Good, not even there, whatever. He was always playing.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, sun comes up, the sun sets, and Ernie Banks playing for the Cubs. We got that down. Let's worry about the rest of it now. The rest of it later. But Ernie Banks, I got number 3. Number 2, I have Cal Ripken. I mean, Mike said it before. He played every day.
Literally.
He kind of felt like you can compare him physically to like Jeff Kent, who's a real tall shortstop.
Yeah.
It's like where does he like where? When does that start happening? We have tall shortstops and tall second basemen. That's kind of how Cal Ripken was.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how Jeter got there, and then A-Rod started at shortstop. They kind of got that Cal Ripken mold. So hey, I could be big and play here, and be offensive and play here. Used to be like you're 5'10", 5'9", 6 foot, 6'1". Ripken's like 6'3". He's a big guy, power hitter,
Yeah.
So Cal Ripken really definitely changed the modern era of shortstop, and he was really just dominant for a long time. Played every day. The All-Star game where A-Rod let him play, moved him back from third to short.
Great moment, yeah. And he had a home run in his first at bat, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was MVP, I believe, the All-Star game.
Yeah, of course.
Took the Orioles. He was a big part of them. Kind of like the torch passing with Eddie Murray. Eddie Murray was kind of getting older and kind of went to Cal Ripken. Cal Ripken kind of kept the team competitive, and then they kind of sank and finally got rebuilt, and now they're terrible again. But Cal Ripken was huge for baseball, and if it wasn't for my number 1 guy, Honus Wagner, and his just ridiculous stats, ridiculous stats, Cal Ripken would be 1. But you gotta just give some of these guys their credit. And Honus Wagner, you gotta give him his credit. His stats are just.
He's top 10 all time in WAR, by the way. He's like number 10.
Yeah,
so.
and he just slaps hits. He bats like he's got. What has he got? The second highest average all time. I think Ty Cobb at number 1, like 366 career average.
Yeah, I think he's got a 328 career average.
Oh, it's okay. It is a little lower maybe than I thought, but he's definitely up there.
Well, yeah, 328 career average. I mean, what more do you want?
Yeah, as a shortstop, he was fantastic, and I never watched him play. I never had anybody in their mind watch him play. You know exactly who he is, and you know exactly who his card is.
Oh yeah,
you can go look at that trading card. You don't know like Cy Young. You could probably tell if you look at a card. Like if you seen a picture of him, you're like, I think that's Cy Young. But like Walter Johnson and Christy Matthews, you might not know if you see a picture of him. Honus Wagner, you're gonna know.
Honus Wagner pitched. Was this something you were gonna get to?
No, let's hear it.
He pitched 3 innings.
Love it. Struck out 5 guys probably.
He gave up 3 runs.
That's fine.
He finished the game though.
Of course he did.
Probably
smacked 3 hits that game.
For his career, for his career, he had 8 1/3 innings, 5 runs, 6 strikeouts.
That's what he does.
I just scrolling through his stats. I seen it.
How many championships did he win?
He
went to
won.
the
He won
Pirates.
1 World Series. I don't know championships because he played for 3, 4, 5. He played like 6 or 7 years before there was even a World Series.
Boston. Who did
So-
he play for at that time?
Hold on, it's an old the Louisville Colonels. Who could forget?
Of course. How could you forget them? What did he play for? Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Pittsburgh's like primarily where he. Let me take a look if there's. No, yeah, it was all Pittsburgh. So it was the Louisville Colonels
Fantastic.
and Pittsburgh.
Just want to throw that out there just so everyone can know that there's some teams out there that are like, what?
Yeah, he played there for 3 years.
Yeah, and he was the best. But Honus Wagner's stats are ridiculous.
Yeah, 130 WAR by the way.
130 WAR. That's incredible. That's like a whole. That's like what was the 98 Yankees when they went to the World Series and won all the games? What was that, like 130 wins after winning the playoff games?
Yeah, it was something like that.
So he was like the greatest offense, like the greatest winning season above everyone else in wins. That's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, he's outstanding, really.
Yeah. So that's really why you're hard to put Cal Ripken at number 1 there, because Honus Wagner, even though no one's like, hey man, I'm gonna go play like Honus Wagner, because you never, but he built shortstop for the next 80 years until pretty much till Cal Ripken came.
Yeah, he is like
He set the foundation of what we need to find our poor man's Honus Wagner, and that's what he did there.
yeah. Let's go with someone to hit like that guy.
Yeah, similar to kind of what they want to do with Hornsby. Hornsby was a little bit different because he did kind of hit home runs as a second baseman.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Wagner, it's like, let's kind of get our poor man Wagner, and that's how you did it for 80 years. And then Cal Ripken came, and it's like, okay, let's get our Cal Ripken. So there were 2 guys who just generated or created the position, the mold of a position. And the way Cal Ripken built that position, I think we might get that for 80 years. Because now look at the position, Correa, big guy, and you get Lindor, who's got the power at shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
Glaber. The other guys aren't quite as big as Ripken was, but the idea of the power being there, the idea of we can be offensive and
Sure.
play that position. We can be big and play that position. Jeff Kennett, second base. We can be those big guys.
Mm.
They molded a new generation. They opened another door to being able to play that position.
Yeah.
Rather than to be 5'9" and just flash the leather all day.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Kind of maybe summing it up is like Honus Wagner kind of made the blueprint for the shortstop, and Cal Ripken updated that blueprint for the modern era.
Yeah.
And there's your 1 and 2.
You had a blueprint for a long time, and then it's like, okay, let's tinker with that. Here's a prototype.
Yeah, let's just update it.
Yeah.
Let's just make it more modern.
Yeah.
There you go. There's your 2 guys.
Yeah.
That's just in my opinion, it's a good way of looking at it. And I don't, if like I said, the top 3, I go back to that. If you have any of those guys in your top 3 in any order, fine. I ain't gonna argue with you. You know what I mean?
I will argue with you if you don't got George Davis on that list. So
yeah, like me.
yeah, everyone go out there and look up George Davis. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah, he those stats are pretty. Those old guys just man. Some of those
guys just get lost. They get lost in the history books.
Sure.
And the turning of the clock, they just get lost. It's like, how did no one picked up on this guy? Like, no one for 70 years.
Not even
looked at the history books and like, George Davis was pretty good. Let's maybe get him in the Hall of Fame. Like 98, someone finally was like, dude, I was looking up this other guy. And dude, this George Davis guy was pretty goddamn good. I spelled his name wrong, but like I spelled this other guy's name wrong and got up on his page and look how good this guy was. Like that's how I feel like that's how they found out who he was.
Yeah.
Like someone just accidentally came across him. That's kind of how I came across him.
Yeah.
Like, you see him in the Hall of Fame, you're like, George Davis. You don't think about it, and then until you really look up some of these stats, like we mentioned in all these episodes, Eddie Plank. We mentioned in earlier episodes. We mentioned Hornsby and Eddie Collins. George Davis and Luke Appling and guys who are just like, Archie Vaughn. They're old. No one thinks about them.
Yeah, they get lost in time if you're not someone that's kind of actively, historical baseball fan.
Or if they were part of your franchise history, you might know them.
Because you might be someone that doesn't value those old guys. You might be someone can make a list, not even Honus Wagner on it because he's just an old player. And you know what I mean? Like there's probably people out there that
could, yeah, but even when you add those extra analytical stats, like WAR, which is not a crazy analytic stat.
No.
But it is a more analytic stat. You add that to them, and they are still good. They
Yeah.
do have the defensive run saved and the defensive run. Obviously, they're not as can't be as accurate, but no one really knows how to even calculate WAR.
Yeah. It is a strange.
So like,
You know.
so it's like you can give Trout all these WAR and everything, but how do you calculate it? Everyone, oh, you don't know. So then you're just calculating these guys. You're just going by their stats.
Yeah.
So it's hard to. I can't see how you can leave those guys off.
Yeah.
I just can't unless it's a strict analytic list.
Yeah, which
And
even
at
then,
that point, I feel like we talked about it last week. It's like, how can you leave them off? They gotta be on there. They gotta be on the top 10. If you want to discredit, baseball was different back then. Well, you can do that, but it's still the fact that they were the best during that time, and they molded something that grew. The idea that they built baseball, they passed it on. They built a generation. They built a legacy. They built the sport. You got to give them the credit.
Yeah.
And they were playing with what, a beach ball?
Yeah, it was
it
a squishy ball.
the bat
Yeah.
you took ripped it right off the tree. There was no fences. And when they did have fences, it was like 580 feet out there.
I wouldn't even be surprised if George Davis plumped in that era when they didn't have a glove. Remember they had like there was at some point they were barehanded. They didn't even play with anything.
Helmets. The bags were just like lumpy bags. 7 walks to walk a guy.
Yeah.
To
Yep.
walk seven balls to walk a batter. You get hit by a pitch, it was just a ball.
Yeah.
Like you got pegged in the head with no helmet. You'll get up there.
Yeah.
You gotta get up there. No.
You take it 3 more times.
Yeah. Like no, just keep pegging him in the head.
Yeah.
You gotta get pegged in the head 7 times.
Yeah.
Just take your base.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
After the 7th one, you got mashed potato brains.
Yeah. He's walking down to third base. You don't know where he's at.
Yeah.
So they played with some adversity. It might not be the same. You can say, well, they played it easier. They didn't play with the athletes they played now, but they didn't play with the technology where you can miss-hit a ball and it's going to go 500 feet. It was like if you didn't square a ball up then, I don't even know if you could square that ball up. But if you didn't, it was like you're going to hit a milk dud back to the pitcher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, sure, you didn't have the athlete 6'6" whipping the ball 110 miles per hour, but they still had the athletes at that time.
Yeah.
Like when Babe Ruth came, he's 6'3", they were like, this guy's Godzilla. This guy's the biggest guy we've ever seen. There's still guys who are dominant athletes because they just were built different.
It's true.
So it's hard to discredit them. I just don't like the idea. I just don't like the idea when you just completely discredit them. That's what really hurts me. It's like they built the game and they did a lot. To just be like, they played old. They played it back then. It's like that's just stupid. It's like it's hard to argue that. It's like then how could you compare anybody to anything? Like how could you compare Jim Brown to any running back in football? They played old. They ran the ball all the time.
Yeah, because like then what do you make a list like every 10 years? If there's my list for the decade because I can't compare Cal Ripken to Honus Wagner.
Yeah, you could do that to anything. Anything that has a list. You see these presidential rankings. Like how could you compare George Washington? He was all the way back then. What did he do?
Yeah.
How could you compare him to a new president? It's like you have a million things going on now.
Yeah.
Back then it was like just don't die.
Don't die.
And don't blow us up. Like don't actually implode our country into just fighting each other. And don't die. And you're the best. It's like how could you compare that?
Yeah.
You can use that in anything in life.
That's true.
How could you compare anything if that's the case? So it's a stupid argument. And if you want to be that with everything, then hey, that's fine too. If you want to use that argument, you got to use it for everything.
Yeah, that's you got to be consistent.
And that's how I am with anything. You don't pick and choose. We said it with rules. We said it with a lot of things. Don't pick and choose what you want to do. You got to be full in with that, or you got to be against it. You can't be kind of.
Yeah, you can't cherry pick with how you want to be. How you want to list things and how you want to value things. Yeah, I agree.
That's where we're at.
All right. Well, that's our. With that,
all that yelling.
That is our middle infield list. Like I said, we didn't stick to the numerical thing because we just felt that the middle infield is so similar, kind of appropriate to do it with one episode. So that's that. The next episode in 2 weeks, we will have the third base and left field. Before we get to our trivia question, there's some news to go through. Starting with some off-season moves. We got Josh Bell to the Nationals.
Love Josh Bell. For 2
pitching prospects. You got Blake Snell to the Padres in a 5-player deal, I believe, right? That's an interesting deal that I actually kind of didn't expect to be made, but kind of works for both teams. That kind of fits the Rays mold of kind of just that constant turnover of when they get stars. So that fits them. Padres need a pitcher, fits them. Unfortunately, we lost Phil Niekro. Also, I believe he was 81. Frank told me I didn't read about it too much, but he had a long battle with cancer, which is unfortunate. We lost another legend of the game, 300 win winner.
Only knuckleball pitcher to win 300 wins.
Yeah, if popularized, I believe popularized and kind of made the knuckleball famous.
Well, the Ephus, the Negro brothers.
Yeah, yep.
The file under the hands. Ugh, they were a mess.
Yeah. I don't believe I'm missing anything else noteworthy unless you got, what else you got?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Like I said, we don't want to get into too many of the details because we're going to have an episode that kind of recaps all this. So we don't want to just bog it down now and reiterate it later. But losing Nick Robley hurt. I seen that yesterday, and I was like,
yeah,
that's a shame. But he had a long battle. So, but it still hurts. Necro was fantastic. Pitched till he was, gray-haired.
Yeah.
Josh Bell to the Nationals. I like Josh Bell a lot, so that was pretty cool. Blake Snell traded to the Padres, and the Padres still on the move for Yu Darvish, and they're in the hunt for Trevor Bauer as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and before you just continue right there, just before I forget, or before we forget to mention, the Padres did sign that Korean.
Yeah, the 25-year-old.
The Korean shortstop.
Utility guy they want to use him as. But.
Yeah, because they have Tatis at short and Machado at third, so I would assume that side of the infield is pretty covered.
Yes.
Forgive me, I actually do forget his name, and I'm not gonna try to.
I get names wrong that aren't even that hard wrong, so I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna even attempt it and sound racist, but yeah, he's supposed to be pretty damn good, kind of like you said, utility guy. So I didn't want to cut you off.
No,
but that's I did remember that too.
And the last quick note I just want to add is there is a slight possibility that there is a pushback at the start of the year where opening day could be closer to Memorial Day, which if that's the case they will probably not play 162, but it'll probably be like 150.
Yeah, it'll be close.
Like that might be like 148, 150, which is fine. If that's our worst, if that's what happens, that's our worst case. That's fine.
Yeah,
if we have 60 games, that's fine.
That's the way I feel. Yeah. And
half the time it's cold and the guys don't want to play. You don't know nothing. So I want it normal, but if it gets pushed to Memorial Day, I'm not gonna really go nuts about it.
Yeah, you could always make up some games elsewhere and at least give us a little more.
Doubleheader, maybe push the season 1 week back. That's 6 games right there. It's easy.
Yeah,
they'll have it planned out. I just want so there's an idea. Keep that in mind. Other than that, there's not too much off the wall stuff going on, and some of the trades they are a little crazy. We'll get into episodes later. We just don't want to repeat ourselves.
Yeah, because that's a trade that I'm sure we'll break down a little further because that is a pretty significant move.
Yeah, and once a little more of the details come out, maybe with some cash and some reasoning and what explanation, it makes it easier to talk about it.
Yeah.
But other than that, let's quickly here get into the trivia question for this week. And this is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone will get it, but so the trivia question this week to go along with our middle infield, I'm gonna do it this way. Who, if you can name them, has the most errors at shortstop? And I know I don't think anyone's going to get it. But can you get the number? What is the all-time most errors at shortstop?
It's over 900 for a little hint there, if you're trying to guess right now.
Yes.
It's over 900.
Yes. And if you can get the player right, that's impressive. That's the most impressive thing you've ever done in your entire life.
Yeah. You're like Rain Man or something.
Yeah. So, but I'll give it to you now. So the answer to that is Herman Long has the most errors at shortstop, and he had 1,070 errors. There's only 4 players in MLB history to have over 900. He's the only player to have over 1,000. And looking him up before, he had 117 errors in one season at shortstop.
It's just terrible.
And he really wasn't a bad player. He had like 2,200 hits. God, there was no point in him fielding.
Yeah.
Like he could have just tossed his glove out there, and you're like, well.
Let's hope.
Yeah, like his fielding percentage one year was like 867.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's not good. Like, are you kidding me? It's like, oh, he probably fielded 86.7%. That's terrible.
Yeah.
That guy's like 99.7, 90, 98, and you're like, oh, 98. You're like, oh, what did this guy do? Like he fielded 98 out of 100 balls. He's fine.
Yeah. We're not worried about them too.
Yeah. He he missed 14 of them. It's like, guy.
Yeah. Like, get it together.
Yeah. So that's a trivia question. The most errors at shortstop, who was it and how many? Herman Long, and 1,070 errors at the shortstop position. Yes.
It's terrible.
It is terrible. It's fantastically terrible.
Yeah.
And at the defensive position.
Yeah.
Back then when defense was like, okay, that's what you did. So it's just like, God, jeez.
And technically, defensive runs saved wise, Jeter was worst. That's pretty unbelievable.
I don't really know how that happened.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened either, but
that is bad.
I mean, I'd rather have Jeter than him, but That's just me.
I have a cardboard box out there.
Yeah, just...
a chance of catching something. He catch at least a couple. Jeez.
Yeah, for real.
So, but that's it. That's our trivia question. And next episode we'll do third base and left field. That doesn't really make too much sense to a lot of people, but we gotta match them somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do third base and left field next week, or next episode. Then we'll finish out the outfield, and then we'll have a little special top 10 list, a fun one at the end to kind of wrap it all up.
Yeah.
Good so far.
Yeah, I think so too. Just a little disclaimer. I guess this is just in case something happens. We are going to change our recording a little bit because I am going to be going on vacation shortly after the new year. So I'll be gone 1 week, so we won't be able to record, but we're going to record on a separate date. So if there is a lag in news, like say we record an episode and then something breaks.
Trade happens.
Yeah, another trade happens a week later or 5 days later or something. We're not going to be able to report on it. There's just going to be a little lag there. So just, as a preface to that episode, in case it sounds like we don't know nothing.
Yeah.
We do have to
oblivious to the rest of the world of baseball. But
yeah.
No, there's a reason for that.
Yeah. So we're gonna like I said, we're gonna do a little. We're gonna record a different date. So that's in case.
But it'll be posted the same date.
Yeah, it'll still be posted the same
schedule. It's just we're gonna be recording it at a different time.
Exactly. So unless you've got anything else, any last notes or anything, I'm gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, I don't got much. Just hope everybody had a good holiday, Christmas, and the New Year. We were obviously posting this on New Year's Eve, so enjoy your New Year's Eve and enjoy the New Year, and hopefully next year we can get back to some sort of normal and get baseball back to as much normal as we can and watch as many games as possible. And we can get back into the stands because you're gonna miss an 80-degree day watching a baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
You just miss it. So hopefully we get back there.
I hear you.
Yeah, I just want everybody to enjoy their New Year's and enjoy the episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Everyone enjoy their New Year, or if you're listening to this late, hope you had a good New Year's Eve, New Year's safe one. So until then, you can listen to this podcast on Google Podcasts as well as Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen to us on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep, take care.